for episode 14 of the Survive and Thrive Challenge. I'm Laura Brandao, the president of AFR, and I would like to introduce everyone to our wonderful challengers this evening. From Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, we have Nicole Peraino, the creative director of AIM. From Arizona, we have Amy Swaney, a producing branch manager at Citywide Home Loans. And from California, we have Lysa Nelson, a loan officer at Everwise Home Loans. For those first timers out there, I'd like to go over how we got here and what we're looking to do. Well, believe it or not, 14 weeks ago, when all of this quarantine and shelter in place started, I received a phone call from my good friend Seppi, the CEO of Tego, kind of in a panic, kind of in this, oh my goodness, California just went into a shelter in place, and what am I going to do with my staff all going remote? Well, she was quite surprised to learn that I reacted with, oh, honey, you have no idea what's happening in the mortgage world at this moment. So at that moment, we said, hey, if we're feeling this way, maybe others are too. And why don't we do a Facebook Live and speak about it? Well, now, 13 weeks later, every week we bring a new group of people to share how they have grown, learned, and what they're doing now to thrive as they've gotten through all of this change. All right, so let's dive right in here. Nicole, we all know that the last few months now, not even weeks, months now, have created lots of change in all of us. Take us back to the beginning or maybe middle of March when all of this first started. What was that initial reaction? What was the change that was going on both professionally and personally?
Yes. So March, as you know, AIM, we support independent mortgage brokers. So we had just had a great event in Irvine, California in March, and we were coming off that feeling like so excited, and we had just connected with all of our members and shared a lot of stories and experiences with them and learned a lot of stuff about marketing. We were excited to have our second regional event in Miami in May. So this event is a huge way that we connect with our community, our Brokers Are Better community, and our AIM members. That's like the number one way to connect with people face to face. So we held on for like a couple of days and we thought, all right, we got to cancel the Miami event in May. So it was a little gloomy at first. Like that first like 2 weeks was really, really depressing, honestly, because for me, like I said, I came off of a high. Like when we have a good event like that and it all goes smoothly, like I am pumped with adrenaline. So to then have such a letdown of like, we can't do the next event, that was very disappointing. And I was like, just forget it all. Like, I hate this. I hate everything, you know?
Mad at the world. You were mad at the world. At that moment.
Yes. Okay. And then I started to reel it in and I said, Nicole, come on. You're really like, you're complaining about not being able to go to Miami in nice sunny weather and connect with mortgage brokers and learn and teach and share. Like, that's your biggest worry in the world. That's an issue. So get it together, relax. There's still plenty of stuff to feel positive and good about. And you have to understand this is a serious thing that's going on. People's health is in danger. People are losing their jobs very rapidly. So get your priorities straight. So then So we got home, we figure out like all the equipment, who needs a computer, who needs a hard drive, whatever. And then it started to look up from there as soon as Anthony had a meeting with us and we just had to immediately pivot and change all of our priorities. So if we couldn't connect with our members at events, how are we going to connect with them now virtually? Well, thank God it's 2020 because we got video, we got social media, we got the internet. Like we have all of these possibilities that we can now really capitalize on. So we did just that. I mean, I literally rearranged my entire house to make it so that the video looked nice. I had my bed in the background of my videos when I first started. And I'm like, well, this isn't the best look. I should probably go with, something a little nicer. And then I just started, using, using my camera to talk to people as if I was talking to them face to face at one of our events. And then they would comment back, and, you know, we're still engaging with each other, and we're still sharing, and we're still able to learn. It's just not exactly the same way we were doing it before, but there's still a whole world of possibilities.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, I mean, we've had numerous people on the show that attended AIM Activate, and almost everybody was like, I came back and I was like ready to take on the world. Everything was great. And then it all crashed. And I think everybody's reaction is like, this isn't fair. Like, you know, this is not okay. We had this. And I think that's part of the adjustment, right? Part of an adjustment is, okay, at first it's maybe okay to say, no, this isn't fair, or no, this wasn't what was planned. This wasn't part of it, right? We had a plan. But you're right. Then all of a sudden it's, okay, now what do we do? So Nicole, did you ever work remotely, like, you know, at home? No. Okay, so how was that adjustment?
I have a computer at home. I used to freelance, you know, so I had like a computer that could handle editing and, you know, working from home. And luckily some people on the staff had laptops, but one girl, a graphic designer, I had to ship her computer from the office to her house because she couldn't be using Photoshop and all these programs that require a lot of, you know, RAM in the computer. So luckily I had it, but yeah, we had never worked from home just because we had such a great environment in the office. And it's nice to be able to just pop over to someone's desk, or, you know, go over to the conference table and just brainstorm ideas. It's a lot harder to do that when you have to, like.
And you guys actually had a lot of brokers that would come to the office, right? You had a lot of members that would.
That's another huge thing we had to adjust. So we just had launched a podcast a little over a year ago, and we had brokers flying into our office in Philly because we had an entire studio that we spent thousands of dollars on setting up with lighting and cameras and microphones for the podcast. And our host would come from outside of Philadelphia. So that was a little bit of a downer too, because, you know, I want the podcast to be the highest quality. I don't want it to be over Zoom and not have the best quality audio and visual. But, you know, we still produce the podcast now. Every week we have a new episode coming out. It just happens to be via Zoom, just like this.
There you go. And you make it work, right? And we make it work. All right, cool. Yep. So you adjust to working from home. So awesome. All right. Yep. Now, Amy, tell us what's going on in your world. Now, I know you're also involved with the MBA and you're the Mortgage Action Alliance and all of that, which is a whole nother perspective. And we actually have not had anybody on the show from that perspective. So I certainly want to hear personally, and we also want to hear that piece of, you know, what was happening there.
Yeah, so it's been quite an adjustment. So you got to meet my husband last week, and which is funny because when I met you, you didn't know my husband, and we met from an MBA thing, and so it was awesome. And but on a personal note, so PJ was in transition at the time. He was just about ready to start his new job, and so he was home getting ready to leave. It was actually spring break, right when all of this stuff started happening. We were about ready to leave to go to the Bahamas, and the travel ban to Europe was going on Friday, and it was Thursday when we were trying to decide, are we going to go? And so it was PJ, myself, and our 10-year-old who had given up a lot because she was going to get to go to the Bahamas with us. And so we had made the decision on Thursday. We had to make that quick call. Are we going to really leave that next day to go to the Bahamas? Not having the concern of getting there. It was more of a concern getting back. And so we had to make a very difficult call that we decided not to go. And that was really hard on everybody. And so we decided, you know what? We're going to turn around. We're going to drive up to Utah, where my family is from, so that my 10-year-old could spend some time with her cousins and, you know, at least have a little bit of a spring break. Well, we weren't there more than a couple of days, and my 19-year-old who was on spring break at the time, finds out that her dorm is being shut down at the University of Arizona. So we had all these things going on personally that we were trying to deal with. And so we turn around from Utah and drive back to help her get out of her dorm. And so we're trying to juggle all these things, all these crazy things going on that we weren't prepared for. And we get back to Arizona the same day that our daughter gets back, and she drives up from Tucson, upset, that basically her freshman year of school, has basically ended abruptly as they've shut down the dorms. And we find out, and as a side note, I'm a little bit high risk because I'm a cancer survivor. And so I have a very delicate immune system. And so we find out the next day that she had been exposed from a sorority sister that had tested positive. And so it was immediately when we got back that we went into shutdown. And so for the second that we got back, we went straight quarantine for the next basically month because, we just didn't want any chance of any of us getting, spreading it to anybody, which was really hard because we weren't prepared. We weren't at all prepared. Although PJ tried to make sure we were, because we had Amazon coming to our house every single day. So we single-handedly supported the economy for a good week. So, but we weren't prepared at all in terms of, PJ worked from home a lot, but I was always at the office. And so we had to quickly adapt. I was working out of the living room, which was not easy with all of our kids back, and my 19-year-old wasn't excited to be home. My 10-year-old was not excited to have spring break all over very quickly. PJ wasn't sure if he was leaving to go to his orientation of his new job. And I just wasn't happy at all with being quarantined. So I'm a social person. And so it was very difficult, and we were all trying to juggle things all at once. But, with that being said, quickly having to adapt, and all of a sudden, all of us as a family having to adapt and be all together all at once, there was a kind of a calm, being quarantined all of a sudden, which was kind of a nice respite from the craziness of the business for the first little while. And just everybody being together was, I think, my kind of solace in the very beginning. If anything were to happen, at least we were all together. And that first 2 weeks, that was really important. Now, at the end of those 2 weeks, we could have, that might be a different case. But at the beginning of those 2 weeks, we were very happy we were all together. So, but adapting business-wise was difficult because I had to very quickly restructure how I did things. And where PJ knew exactly how to work from home every day, I was not used to that. And we run a fairly large marketing services agreement with a very large real estate firm in town, and a very successful one that we are very used to being very out there, going out there and visiting with real estate agents all the time, and having to adapt so that we could still keep those relationships very fresh and very live. We had to come up with some really creative and great ways to keep those relationships very active. And that was a lot of creative thinking and a lot of ways for us to realign our business model very quickly. And we did a lot of that, and it was good. So lots of work.
Didn't work remotely before either, right? So they had to go remote all the way.
No. My team, we have a couple of offices. So my team, there were some that couldn't go remote for some reason or another. It just didn't work, big families, all at home, all at once, just other physical reasons why they couldn't. So we have a large office that allowed for them to come in and be distant. So we were able to do that. Some did work from home, which had its own struggles. Some needed training that weren't getting it. Some needed the assistants that weren't getting it. It had its own challenges, but we adapted very quickly. Lots of phone calls, lots of Zoom calls, lots of probably more Zoom than we needed. Lots of Zoom.
Listen, I think on last week's show we spoke about the Zoom fatigue. I think it was PJ that brought it up.
Yes, it was PJ. Yes, PJ.
About how there's proven that having too many Zoom calls actually drains you, and that our brains aren't used to watching people like through video and listening and watching.
It's like, wait.
Yeah, you're like,
well, and I'll tell you, being, if you know PJ, he's very, he's a very social guy, and he's incredible. He's probably the best salesperson you'll ever meet. He's such a networking guy, and having been around him for as long as I have, I've learned a lot about sales from him, and he's on. When he's on, and it's an exhausting, Nicole, you've got to know this, being involved in what you do. When you're at a conference, when you're at a sales rally, it's exhausting. It's physically exhausting because you have to be mentally. You have to be so on that you're focused and you're engaged, and, you can't be, what's going on, you have to be centered and on. And that's what Zoom has brought. You can tell when people aren't engaged, and if you're on all day long Zoom calls, you're on all day long. You're not walking around. You're not, you're sitting and just sitting and being engaged in this focused sales environment that's exhausting. And I think we learned very quickly that you couldn't do that 12 hours a day, which is what I learned that I was doing, that I was working from the second I got up to the second. Of course, my sales went up a lot, but you were working a lot because you were on all the time. So.
Absolutely. All right. So Lysa, I know you were at AIM Activate because I know you were with us. Tell us what happened in your world.
So I was at Activate 2, of course, and that was actually my first AIM event. Oh. So like Nicole was saying, I came back with this just on this incredible high, first event ever I'd experienced anything like that, and is in charging and electric and then we come back and a couple of weeks later, all of a sudden it's just everything is shut down, and of course, at the same time, we had such this huge market shift, right? That, already during AIM, everyone was working so very hard because there was the, refinance, boom occurring at the time. And so huge change for lots of people, myself included. One of the things that didn't change so much for me is that I have worked from home for a long time. So I was already used to that. And I'm grateful in the sense of I didn't have to make any big changes there. I know a lot of people went through things like, there's a loss when you come out of an office and you're with people all the time, and that energy, right? And that even when you are not working and collaborating together, even just that time you get to get up and go chat, take little breaks, get a little reprieve from work. That's a big change. Although for me, professionally, it did make me have to think out some different ways that I could continue to engage with clients.
Right.
I love what Amy was saying because, we first start using Zoom and we might be personally comfortable with, being on a screen or whatever it is, or we might not. Me, not so much, but we're also in this box. You know, I can go and speak to hundreds of people in a room, but I feel like I'm talking to myself when I first started with the Zoom. You know, no one's here. I'm kind of in a vacuum, right? So, you know, for me, that was a shift, a little bit of a challenge. Also, you know, but it was important, like I'm saying, professionally, because I had to, you know, figure out a way to continue to communicate with clients I might otherwise communicate with face to face, but also changing the way everyone around me, you know, was having to work, and how can I respond to that better? You know, same situations. Everybody's now in the same situation as us. How can I respond to how they have to work? I have to kind of meet people where they're at.
Right.
So, so that too, and you know, personally, I too, I'm immunocompromised. So I did have to, you know, really follow the letter of the law here in California as far as quarantine. Also, my husband is self-employed, owns a business with his father, and my mother-in-law has cancer. So we have to be careful from that perspective. If, you know, too, you want to be out somewhere, have my husband take that back, you know, to his dad, to his mom. And so, you know, that was a big change as well, because we too were very social people. You know, we like to get out and do things and see our friends. That's probably been one of the biggest challenges for me, is not being able to get together with my girlfriends.
It's very interesting that week over week we've, you know, with hearing everyone's different stories, you heard about the extroverts. It really hit us. Like the people that say, love being around other people and I love feeling other people's energy and kind of feeding off of that. We all, you use the word loss, Lysa. There's a loss, there's a void, right?
Yeah.
And then you're trying to figure out, well, how do you get something to refill that void, right? In a way that works for you and works for whoever else you're communicating. Because it's really interesting. A lot of times we've had introverts on the show and they're like, I didn't see any difference.
Yeah.
I was good. Really doesn't matter. I'm okay. So it's really interesting how the people that feed off the energy and like to be around others, it was tough. You know, it really did hit us in a different way that you maybe wouldn't have expected. Which
Right.
really,
I think, yeah. And I think with that, there's definitely, you know, lots of mental and emotional challenges that have come with this huge change.
Yep.
And one of those is that, like, you know, I personally realized that, like, I have to grieve that loss, actually.
Right.
You know, I have to process that loss of not being able to be with my friends, you know, in the same way we're used to, right? You know, that, and the mental management of myself to not allow that to bring me down,
Right.
to not allow that to, you know, put me in a position of being, you know, depressed, or, you know, I suffer from anxiety. So for me, it could be very easy to make the whole thing even more catastrophic than it really
Right.
is. And it's catastrophic, but I could, you know, implode that tenfold.
Lysa,
And
what did you do to help in that? You know, what kind of methods did you use?
yeah, so I am, first of all, and I've heard a few people say it on the show too. First of all, I'm a huge proponent of working out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very important thing to note, though, you know, it's easy for people who already kind of have that going on for them. You know, they're used to working out, but for people who aren't, especially, you know, in order to do that, you have to find exercise that you think is fun. You know, I hate to run. I will not buy a treadmill and put it in my basement gym. You know, you know, so that's really a key when we say, you know, exercise, definitely get exercise. It has to be something that you think is fun, you know, and that helps not only physically, but mentally, you know, and again, I'm a big proponent of staying mentally fit and emotionally fit. So, you know, I do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of meditating, you know, those kind of things. Finding ways to just be at peace and be where my feet are is what my favorite saying is.
I like that.
Ooh.
I like that.
Thanks. Especially having anxiety, that's kind of one of our tendencies. You know, we fear a future that doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's what's helped me with a lot of this is really those things. And
I'm glad you shared that, because that's the type of thing, that's the whole purpose of this, is that lots of people are experiencing those same things, and it's great to share. Because I mean, listen, I admitted it this week that when I heard Brittany say about every day she makes a point, she leaves the house. And I realized there were times that I never left my house from Monday through Friday. And I decided after hearing that last week, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm at least going to go for a walk. I'm at least going to go see the sunshine. You know, I'm going to go outside of my house.
That's right.
And it's important. It really is so important. So thank you for that.
I honestly, because I feel too that, again, you know, people that have been emotionally and mentally affected by this, there are people out there who maybe never had suffered from depression or anxiety that now do.
Or realize that they did.
Or
they
realize, didn't realize, now they, because now they can identify it, right? Now they can identify it. So, you know, and we're, I think pretty much in this industry, we're all workaholics. And so we can internalize everything by being, you know, workaholic. Just stay in the work.
We just keep focusing on work, and then the rest, you know,
everything else will fall into place. You know, it's fine.
But you can also use it as an excuse.
True.
Yes, we can also
use it as an excuse to not check in with yourself mentally and let stuff go.
That's right.
And just say, oh, I'm busy with work. I do it all the time.
A means of avoidance. Absolutely.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And so, you know, like
Amy said it. She said she was working her tail off over there. Yeah, her sales went up, but she realized, well, she was never stopping.
No. And I'm guilty.
Right.
Yeah. 12, 15, 16, 18-hour days, whatever. You know, and when I'm the person, I sit down in my desk, like I don't get up. I don't get up.
Yeah.
You know,
we probably, well, I don't know. Maybe Nicole's getting up. All right. So
my dog is my only savior.
Yes.
Nicole, are you by yourself?
Yeah. I live with just me and my dog. But if it weren't for having to take her out 2-3 times a day, I would be the same as you, Laura. I would never leave. I would be slumped on the couch like, nothing is really stimulating me from the outside world. So I'm just going to go into this like slump and just like eat snacks and watch TV and like be so lazy. But she makes me, I have to take her out. So I feel the sun and I see the outside. I'm like, okay, fresh air.
And it makes you feel so much better. It really does, you know, make you feel better. Awesome. All right. So now we've gone through our initial shock to the system and kind of what was going on. Now let's go fast forward. Here we are 14 weeks later. Now we were speaking before we went live of some of the cool things we're actually doing now, some of the lessons we learned, some of the things that, hey, maybe I'm going to keep doing this or keep expanding on this. So Nicole, tell us, what are some of the takeaways now that you're like, hey, this could be something we're going to keep doing?
I think the biggest takeaway was like that checking in on yourself and realizing that when you have the, like, because I will do the avoidance where the hustle bustle, wake up every day, get on the bus, take an Uber, get to work, go to the office, come back, take the dog out. It's like, it's just repeat. But being home all day, it was really like, it was the same. It was like Groundhog Day, you know, every day you're just like, you're in the same space. So there is a lot more opportunity to like really check in with my mental health and be like, wait, I've always been feeling this way, but I've always, you know, avoided it. What can I actually do now? Is it working out? Like after I'm done working out, I feel that adrenaline rush and it sort of clears my mind. Okay, I need to make an effort to do that. Not for my physical, not for my physical body. I don't really care. I'm not going to try to get more skinny or buff. For my mental health, I want to work out and clear that. Taking a walk, you know, making the effort to take longer walks with my dog, not just, you know, it was like lowest on my priority list before. Oh, go to the office, come home, quickly take her out, and then get back to, get back to the office working. And then I think the last thing is realizing that it's possible to work from home.
Right.
That is something that I think a lot of companies in general, and myself individually included, didn't realize that it was a possibility because we never had been forced to think about it.
That's right.
But now it's like, as we start to transition back into the office, it's like, well, hold up a second. We were doing it from home, so it was working. So it's like, can we take more, mental health days? Can we take more, more half days here and there? And can we really create a better work-life balance? And Anthony will not like me for saying this. He's terrible at work-life balance. But can we, now that we've done it, we've still produced the same amount of work and the same quality of work.
To be honest,
from home.
I think we made more production. I mean,
yes,
we did. Like, look at how much production has gone through the mortgage industry in the last couple of months, and we really haven't added that many more people to it. So to go back to what you're saying, we've proven that the productivity can drastically increase as long as people have the ability to work the way that they work best. So I think the commercial side, I'm not going to be very happy with this, but I really do believe that all different industries, not just mortgage industry, many different industries have realized that, number one, people are happier having that flexibility. And I think we've all proven they can work effectively, efficiently, and be productive. I do.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. All right, Amy, what have you learned? What did you do that you think you're going to keep doing?
So I think there was a couple of things. So as a mom, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat that the first thing I learned is I suck at homeschooling. So I'm a terrible homeschool mother.
Listen,
I am terrible.
You're in the mortgage business. Do you think we have?
Oh my gosh. I learned that I definitely chose the right industry, and everyone is glad I'm not a teacher.
And bless those teachers. You're gonna bless them.
Exactly. $1 million a day. They definitely deserve it. So that is definitely something I learned. But as a mom, what I learned is that, and I'm definitely not the best at the work-life balance, because it's more like work, a little bit of life, work, But what I learned is that I like when things slow down, because I like having that family time where we're not rushing to do everything that we feel like everybody else is doing. Because I liked that we did, it was in Arizona, March was like perfect weather, perfect. We were doing outside movies, we were getting in the hot tub, we were, so all of these things, we were swimming, it was actually nice when things slowed down we got to spend some time together, but we didn't have to rush around because we weren't, running and doing everything that we thought we had to do. So there was those pieces where, we even bought a tent that we put a tent in our backyard. Although there was a day where I was like, okay, I'm going to sleep in the casita because all of you people are driving me crazy. So we were calling it the casita. So, but we kept the tent up for the weekend so that we could do something different, just because we couldn't go and do anything else, So we were trying new things to try to do things that we weren't normally doing. But those are things that I hope that we keep doing. We were doing things as a family where we weren't just, okay, see you guys on Sunday, or see you guys at dinner, at some point, hey, Kate's in the other room watching the iPad, or I'm in the other room working, and PJ's in the other, It was nice to kind of come together for a little while. And it was funny because my 19-year-old is still in Arizona. She's coming up in next weekend, but she actually called the other day and said, I miss my family, because she's there by herself, so it's kind of like, so those things I hope stay with us. But now on the work side of things, we had, as you know, Laura, we had some craziness in the beginning, but what we found out, and I talked a lot with my business coach about this, how are we going to take what we learned and really change how we do things and how we can impact people and do good and see good and, show people who we are, not just what we do. And so we had this opportunity to kind of find the good in others, and we kind of took what John Krasinski did as the Some Good News Network, which I absolutely loved. And we took that, and on a CE event that we hosted with about 250 realtors, we actually recreated, rather than being the Some Good News Network, we created the Partner Good News Network. And we were able to highlight realtors that were on this CE event Zoom call, and we pulled things from their Facebook pages, and we found things that they were doing that were providing good things to not just the industry, but the world, things like feeding children that weren't getting fed because the schools were closed. There were groups that were doing this, and there were groups that were providing charity for, just out in the world. There was one guy who did an online blackjack tournament that raised like $60,000 for a food bank. Things that they weren't promoting themselves, but we wanted to promote for them. And one of my clients had a daughter that finished her cancer treatments and did a neighborhood cancer ring the bell drive-by that we were able to show a video of, and just really focused on all the good things that were going on rather than all the horrible things that were going on. And it was such an incredible event that the people on the call, we decided, rather than, how we normally do sponsorships for everything, in the real estate industry, we decided that rather than doing a sponsorship, we were going to contribute the money that we would normally contribute to the sponsorship to we do what's called Feed My Starving Children, which is a group, and we were able to raise just instantaneously with all the people on the call over $8,000 that we were able to donate to this, the 250 realtors just in the chat box pledging money, and we were able to raise, it was amazing. So there are all these things that we've been able to do that were good, that I want to continue doing, that just shows what an amazing industry that we're in. So that's kind of the amazing stuff that we've been doing.
Can I ask everybody's opinion? All right, this is collective. Do you think we're going to struggle to keep it going if it goes back to the old normal? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What do you mean by keep it going?
So let's use the example of, so Amy had a couple of examples. One example was the tightness of the family. What I kept thinking of, Amy, as you were telling that story, is it's almost like we're trying to fit life into our work.
Yeah.
There is no balance.
Not the opposite. Yes.
Where do I fit any kind of life inside of my work?
Yeah.
Where now we have life and work is part of it, but it's not all work. So do you think we'll struggle?
That's something I wonder. That's something I wonder, will I keep it up? Like,
yeah,
I've been able to Zoom, we got on Zoom calls with friends from college who live like far away, and I wouldn't physically see them because I'm in Philadelphia, they're in another city. So it's like, well, we use the excuse, we're too busy, we can't physically meet up. But now we were able to, I've talked to them more than I ever have before because of the ease of Zoom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder, am I gonna, get back to the craziness of life, and am I gonna push that aside and use an excuse again? But no, that's what I want to like challenge myself to do, is keep it up. Like, you, during quarantine, you talk to them, every other week or every week or something. So keep that on the calendar. Like, that's part of what you need to be doing in your life. And you proved that it was easy to do. So keep it up.
Yeah. I agree. I'm the same way that my girlfriends from high school, we decided every week every Saturday morning, we were doing like coffee every Saturday morning on Zoom. Yeah, we've never done that before. We've been friends since like 7th grade. And, it took it took a 30-year class reunion last year and now quarantine to get us back to doing this, which we've been friends forever, and it's been the greatest thing ever, you know, and we love it. And I don't know why we didn't keep doing this, you know, but again, it took us the chance to slow down, to remember what was important.
I love it.
And it's so funny because I actually said this to PJ, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago. I said, I don't want to go back to the fast pace, just keep going, because we're now adapting. We're adapting to this life in quarantine. And, you know, it was something that somebody told me when I was going through cancer, was somebody said, don't let cancer be in vain. And it was something that I've lived with. This is something that ever since I've gone through this, it's been emblazoned on my heart. I don't want what I went through with cancer to be in vain, because I had to slow down and remember what was important. But every time, you know, you keep going, you keep getting going, and you keep going, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, whoa, remember, you know, I almost died. I almost went through all this stuff. What's important? You know, what is important? And it takes stuff like this to bring you back into, okay, what is really important? Is it closing that next loan? Well, yes, for that family, it really is. But what really is really important, you know?
And that's why
it takes.
That's why you have a team also, Amy, right? We can all do it together.
That's right.
Family home.
I feel like it'll become a new like slogan or something. Like when we get used to that fast-paced environment again, like, all right, take it back. Remember quarantine days or something, like, you know, take it back to like quarantine mental space.
Quarantine 2020. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, come up with that. We want to see that hashtag. Come up with that. We'll back.
Okay, yeah.
We got it. All right, Lysa, what have you learned? What are you sticking with? And, you know, what are you going to take away from this experience?
The most important thing I have actually learned through this is to take breaks. Take a break.
Stop sitting all day at the chair.
Yes. So my husband at one point just a few weeks ago just said, we are going away for the weekend. We're going. So do whatever it is you have to do to be ready to leave it for a couple days. And I said, okay. You know, but we went, and while we were away, we went to a great spot out in Nevada, Lake Las Vegas, and no phones. We didn't turn the TV on. He brought a book. I grabbed a magazine, and the magazine I grabbed just so happened to be all about de-stressing, finding peace. How do we, you know, get to this place? And so I got a lot of takeaways from it that even for me, even if it's just, you know, getting up and walking away from my desk for an actual 10 minutes, walking out of the office for an actual 10 minutes. You know, I'm the person that works like my husband, God bless my husband. He's wonderful, you know, but he'll call me sometimes during the day or in the morning. He'll say to me, hey, can you please do this, you know, personal task today? Or can you make that call today about this or that related to our personal lives? And I will say, yeah. And no, because I've never been that, like, I can't. You know, no personal thing, nothing personal happens while I'm working. So, but it's about prioritization, right? There are things that need to be taken care of, you know, that he needs me to help him take care of. So it's, you know, it's stopping even to take a break to do that. You know, okay, there's priority for the family, you know, like Amy was saying, like, this is all a priority here professionally. Okay, but where do the priorities lie for my family? You know, making sure that I stop even at a point, whether it, you know, it's 5 o'clock, we'll say my time. And then I take that time to make dinner, help with dinner, sit down, we all eat dinner together, take some time to check in with each other on our days, instead of just, you know, here's a pot pie in the microwave for you. And
hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, no, I mean, sometimes we did it last night. I mean, sometimes it has to happen, but and so for me, it's really been that, because even when I take like a coffee break, I'll walk away and it's maybe 5 minutes. I'm like, I gotta go back, you know. So really, actually, like, I will go outside, I will sit down, I'll take that time, you know, take a walk, and that's really new for me. Even a few times this week, he's had to remind me, stop at lunch, go down, do some yoga, or even, to eat. I mean, that's, because I eat at my desk. And so that for me is really the biggest takeaway for me, and the thing that I'll continue to keep doing. And that's going to only help me professionally, because at the end of the day, the better space I'm in mentally, emotionally, and physically, that translates into everything that I do.
I think that goes back again when we were speaking about how everybody's production has been through the roof, of course, right? With how many families we've been helping over the last few months. You have to wonder if part of that is because we have more self-care and we have more awareness and more connection to our families. And you have to really wonder if kind of those two things are coming together.
Yeah, I personally think there's a lot of correlation with that. Example, my daughter works for a very large lender, and they have decided, since sending everybody home to work remotely, they're not going back to the office. None of them are. And because they've seen, and it's not even just about an increase in production, but an increase in morale.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've always believed that. I've always believed that we all work best, like you said, when we're the most comfortable. So, if I work best in the space of my office, and, in my jeans and flip-flops every day, I'm going to be the most authentic version of me.
Yep.
And that's what, the company is going to get.
And you're fulfilled, and you're coming in as a whole person, charged up, and you really can give your all.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Not to end on a sad note, but isn't it kind of sad that it really took a worldwide pandemic to get us all to stop, check in with ourselves? It's kind of really sad, but like Amy said it exactly right. Don't let it be in vain.
Right.
Yes, it's sad that it took that to get us here, but don't let it go in vain. Keep it up.
And same, think about 9/11, right?
Yeah.
Or something else that it took, that to really bring us all together. And, I think too, that's another thing that I think has had to change, and hopefully will stick, is the way we all communicate with each other, right? There's so much more increased communication in our Facebook groups, in all these things. Same, I do a Zoom call with my kids. I thought, why have I never thought of this before? And I think anything that anybody has learned and wants to continue, it's obviously a matter of that individual, Well,
it's funny,
Nicole,
because
no, it's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But it's funny because, staying on that topic of what it took, we talked a little bit about the MBA and the activity of what the mortgage industry is in general, not just our personal lives, but the industry life, what it took to, I'm sure, Nicole, the same thing in the broker world with everything. I was chair of the Mortgage Action Alliance in 2013 and 14, which is the advocacy group of the MBA. On the national level, we have how many people involved in the mortgage industry? And I will tell you, it was like pulling teeth. Even with everything that we've all been through, it was like pulling teeth to get people to do something for free, to get people involved. But I will tell you that this pandemic and the effect that it's had on everyone, what it did to our industry collectively, quickly, I will tell you, the grassroots impact of everybody now wanting to get involved overnight almost was fascinating to see. Now everybody wants to, what else can we do? What can we, and it's like, it's the same thing in our industry that we're seeing in our homes, Well, now that we see, oh my gosh, everything can turn on a dime, we now have to be involved. We now have to do these things right now.
Call too, right? That was a wake-up call.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm really glad you brought that up, because I've said that throughout a lot of the weeks. I was so impressed with us as an industry. of how everybody collaborated. You know, obviously AIM did a phenomenal job of bringing everybody together on the broker side, and then the MBA jumped in, and the two sides, everybody came together for the same purpose, because we went, wake up, hello, do you realize what direction this could have went? I mean, we were in serious trouble, and because everybody came together and collaborated, and we got through it, and it was impressive. I mean, it could have went completely the other direction.
You know, and what I want to say on that is I think that has also being, you know, catapulted into that has been a catalyst for people to let more of their creative side come out or come back out, right? The having to kind of slow down because of the quarantine, and then everything we've had to do to stay on pace with our businesses, right? I think that has enabled a lot of people to do that. And so, you know, yes, like kudos to AIM for, you know, all of everybody coming together and just holding on to each other and circling each other and creating that hula hoop, you know, you, Laura, and Seppi for, you know, creating a space where people can come in and they can talk about all of this is going on, honestly. You know, and, you know, Nicole with her videos, I mean, she's creative, you know.
Maybe if you've never seen Nicole's videos.
You have to see Nicole's videos. You know, but I think that too, and you know, even for me, like, I'm a very creative person, but that gets easily stunted by my work because I allow that. And in this time, I've been able to, you know, things have come clearly into my mind, things that I want to do. Like, I'm getting ready to start a nonprofit. And all the women that are, you know, interested in, you know, doing that together. You know, I've been in the business for a really long time. I've never seen the connection. I've never seen the, you know, the willingness, like you're saying, to come together, to work together on anything that I've seen through this.
I agree. I think we're seeing a lot of best out of people. And again, I think in our challenge, if we're going to have a challenge, is we just have to make sure that we continue to, Amy, thank you for sharing those personal words of when you went through cancer, because you're right. Mm-hmm. This can't be in vain. Everything that we've learned, everything that we've experienced, we need to, Nicole's going to come up with a hashtag and a whole, marketing thing over there, because she's going to remind us, you know, in a couple of years, she's going to keep telling us, you know, so she's going to snap us right back and we're going to remember. So absolutely. All right. Well, ladies, you have been awesome. Our first all ladies group here was amazing. So woo, thank you so much. All right. Now it's time to hear who you are nominating for next week. All right, Nicole, who do we have?
I have our Lysa from the AIM Women's Mortgage Network.
Awesome.
Mortgage broker, another lady mortgage broker.
Yay! Can't wait. Was she also at AIM Activate?
No, she's a brand new mortgage broker. Just joined the Women's Mortgage Network very recently.
Oh, awesome.
Good. She's been super active, so I'm excited
to
hear her story.
Yay! Good. Wonderful. All right, Amy.
All right, so I am going to nominate my business coach who owns the New Life Leadership. And he has been a very big part of me being able to do a lot of the stuff that I have been doing during this pandemic. Really been a big part of getting me to where I'm at. So I'm really excited for him to be a part of Tim Enoch.
Tim Enoch, wonderful. Excited to hear how he's been able to guide everyone and get them through these difficult times. Would love to hear his insights. Awesome. Lysa, who do we have?
I am nominating Michael Wojciech Holmes from Class of
Class.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Because we all know and love Michael, and he is a fantastic, beyond fantastic partner to us in the broker community.
Oh, that is wonderful. I love Michael and looking forward to hearing how he's made it through all of this. Wonderful. Well, ladies, you have been awesome. Thank you so much. Be well, be safe, continued blessings. All right, take care, everybody.
Thank you.